What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker right here in St. Augustine, coming to you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats. We're going over the local news that you need to know about if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest here in our local area. And at the end, I try to hold off to the end. Doesn't always happen. I do a question and answer session. So if you're watching it live or if you're rewatching this as a replay, go ahead and leave me a question in the comments below, and I'll get to it at the end of this section. So to start it off, let's go ahead and check out the market stats for this past week like we do every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Let me go ahead and get on it. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's go here. And we are in the middle of the holiday season. Christmas has just passed. I hope you guys have had a happy holiday. I have my dad in town. I got my sister in town, her husband and her new baby, and it's been a lot. We've been going and doing a lot of things. I'm a little exhausted, I gotta say, but it's been pretty nice. So let's take a look at the hot sheet. The last 24 hours, we've had new listings, 115 go on, 95 go pending, and 165 close. So new listing to close listings, we actually had more this week, but that pretty much makes sense because there's not a ton of people who are like gung-ho trying to buy a house between Christmas and the end of the year. It's just a very busy time for a lot of people, right? So new listings to pendings, we have 95 pending to 115 new listings. And then we also have 31 contingent taking backup. So roughly 120 to 115. So that's almost one for one on the market, one off the market. Price changes. More price changes, 152 price changes than we've seen new listings here. And like we said before, that's the active competition on the market. So as we see more inventory come on, you will see more price range, more price changes. Supply and demand, right? So the supply is starting to grow here in northeastern Florida. Doesn't mean that necessarily the prices have gone down significantly at all, but supply is starting to grow. So let's take a look at the past week. Past week, we've had 457 new listings, 584 closed listings. And honestly, if I'm working with anyone, if you're buying a house or selling a house, this last 2 weeks of the year, I pretty much just write off because there's so many people taking off. It's just a shit show for everyone. Like they're taking holidays, they got family in town. There's so much stuff going on in that last 2 weeks of the year. It's almost better to do it for your sanity, to do it, a week or two before the holidays or a week or two after, just so you don't run into stuff. So 457 new listings, we have 497 pending listings, and then also 167 contingent taking backup. So let's say that's pretty much 570 homes going off the market, under contract, and 457 they're new to the market. Price changes, we have almost a one for one, 660 to 457, so 4.5 divided by 6.6. So looks like for every new listing coming on, we're having about 1.25% of the listings are reducing their price, right? So also one thing, expireds, right? Expireds, that's starting to creep up too, something that we really haven't seen because homes were selling in a short amount of time. And, last year homes were selling under, it was like 15 days, right? So expired listings weren't a thing. You typically have a contract with the seller for 6 months. So seeing 287 expired listings over the past week, that's a stark difference compared to this time last year. So let's go ahead and I'll take a look here. We'll head on to the next news story, which is something that I talked about already. And I just kind of want to elaborate a little bit more and also kind of give the social proof that I'm not just pulling numbers out of my ass here, guys. I do look at a whole bunch of different news articles, try to bring the most relevant stuff to you guys so you can make an educated decision. But here's the first one from the Tampa Bay Times. Florida is the fastest growing state in the nation. It's the first time in 65 years the state has taken the top spot for population growth. Now, of course, I'll put this in the details below, but one of the things that you need to see here is that the nation, this is the nation's third largest state, and it grew by 1.9% in the past year. Typically, Florida has been growing at about 300,000 residents a year. This past year, that was 400,000 residents. So that is a complete change from what we're used to. Everyone, once 2020 happened, pretty much, things for a year kind of died. And then right back from that point, now in 2021, 2022, Florida is starting to grow more and more. Now, the one things that they outline with this is that the majority of the people that are moving here are older and they have a lot more wealth. So it's actually going to create a gap between the workers and the pay for workers in the area, because a lot of people that are moving down here aren't necessarily working anymore. They're more or less retired. They're out of the workforce, or they own a business somewhere else. So they're bringing a ton of money, but they're not necessarily bringing any labor with them. So the labor force here is going to be constricted because of how much money is moving to the area, and that they're expecting prices for the cost of those type of things. Those blue collar jobs are probably going to go up for the wages, just betting on what's coming on down the pipe here. So they think that, of course, it has to do a lot with like why people are moving here. DeSantis says that it's because, we were very relaxed on COVID. And then there's another guy on here that's like, well, Florida's also just pretty great, like just in general, like lifestyle and living, cost of living, the weather year round, aside from the major hurricanes we've had these past 2 years. But that's the main reason, I think. You got the cost of living, you got a growing economy, you have a whole bunch of diversity here. You have a ready, willing, and educated workforce with all the different colleges throughout Florida. And I think people are just kind of joining over here because they're getting tired. I was just talking to a friend in Philly, and it was -8 degrees this past week. So definitely glad I'm not up there for that. But yeah, I mean, hey, it's just a different world. I think a lot of people, when they move here, they think it's a completely different place than when they're coming from. I think it's pretty much the same, but the weather is a little different. Yeah, and people act a little nicer down here in Florida. I think so. But let's head on to the next news story here, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And of course, I'll answer them live. So we do here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I appreciate you guys being here. It looks like we got 5 people on here. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Now, this is a big thing, and it's actually really great how it's written. But 10 big legal battles impacting Florida in 2023, right? So these are things that you might want to know about if you're buying or if you're living here in the area and you want to see how things are going to change here this next year. So abortion, they're looking to put something into law that prevents abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Big tech, it all has to do with First Amendment rights. And we had something go up with big tech in 2021 that they're fighting about. That's not as important. Elections, after a federal district judge ruled that 2021 election laws were intended to discriminate against Black Floridians, the state of Republicans want the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the decision. Okay, we'll see what happens with that. Gambling. Okay, gambling, that's a big thing. Sports betting. Here, it's really only reserved for the Seminole tribe, but now online sports betting is becoming a thing, right? So we're trying to figure out what to do with that. Big ticket item, gender and sexual orientation. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Don't Say Gay bill and all that kind of stuff. So they're gonna address that this coming year here. Gillum. Andrew Gillum was a rising star in the Democratic Party in 2018, race against Governor DeSantis, but now he waits trial on charges that he lied to the FBI. Great. Gun age law, they want to change it so that prohibited sales of rifles and other long guns to adults under 21. Gun restrictions. After the Parkland shooting, more than 30 cities and counties challenged a 2011 state law that threatens stiff penalties if local officials pass gun-related regulations. So they're looking to probably change that. Race-related instructions. DeSantis dubbed this the Stop Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act, or Stop the Woke Act. But pointing to First Amendment issues, which restricts the way race-related concepts can be taught in the education system and in workplace training. The state has taken the case to the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. And then redistricting, the legislature this spring passed a DeSantis redistricting plan, if ultimately helped Republicans win 4 additional congressional seats in November elections. So trial scheduled in September in the federal case, less than a year before the 2024 primary elections. That's all pretty significant stuff, I think, too, right? Because redistricting, that's such a finicky thing, right? Because they do that with school zones, voting, all that kind of stuff. And they do it for a reason. There's a very, very good book, if you guys have time to read, The Color of Law. And it outlines all of, the steering, the block busting, the redlining that happened essentially, which leads us to all the laws that we have today surrounding home ownership and buying a home and a realtor helping people with all that kind of stuff. But great book, The Color of Law, really outlines and goes into detail of how the laws that we've had have really affected race relations and economic relations here. So definitely check that out. But those are all important things for you guys to know. Let me check over here, see if we have any questions. No, we don't. Okay, we're going on to the next one then, guys. Boom. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to share my screen another time. Getting a little thirsty. Give me 1 second here. That's another article that was harder to read. That other one was much better presented. So lighter subject here. Let's talk about Night of Lights. Let's talk about the fireworks show that's going to happen. Every year they do fireworks when it comes down to the new year. So fireworks, the show is going to start downtown St. Augustine. St. Johns County Pier at 350 A1A Beach Boulevard. If you know where that's at, that's the main fishing pier in St. Augustine. They'll begin at 8:30 p.m. and it's going to run for about 30 minutes. Now, don't show up like I did. I thought it was at 9 for some reason. I feel like I always thought it was at 9. But you can show up at 8:30 p.m. at the St. Johns County Fishing Pier. Right across the street on A1A is Little Margie's Cafe. It's actually has a big sign that says FA, Little Margie's Cafe. You can get a great deal on there and a pitcher of Budweiser if you're looking to get a couple drinks before you go watch some fireworks or before you go, or after the fireworks too. That's actually what we did. Because, we were sitting there watching the fireworks last year, and my brother-in-law, my sister, and there was a kid that was standing right next to us, maybe 5 or 10 feet from us, and was like, fireworks, 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 fireworks. And just for 5-10 minutes straight, it was really annoying. So we had to get a beer right after. So yeah, that'll be happening. Obviously on the 31st at 8:30 at the St. Johns County Fishing Pier. If you want to see some great fireworks, they do a great show. You really get right up on it too. Like I was right in front of the Embassy Suites there. They have like a little concrete boardwalk almost. And fireworks is about as loud and right in front of your face as they can be. So very great show. Go check it out. If you're in town here. Now let's bounce back more to real estate stuff, right, guys? That's why we're here. That's why I'm here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. It's what I do as my job. So if you have any questions about real estate, reach out to me directly. Okay, so this is a big development in Northwest St. Johns County. BTI Partners buys 1,300 acres in St. Johns County, plans 2,000 home community. So this is off of Greenbrier Road. The same company also purchased 3,300 acres in Clay County, which is just west of Duval County. So they're going to look to put 2,000 single-family homes on this 1,300 acres. They bought it for $31 million on December 27th. Property is going to be on Greenbrier Road, also called County Road 210 West. So if you're looking at this map here, this is 210, and I talk about 210 a lot. Silverleaf's off of 210, Shearwater is off of 210, Rivertown is pretty much off of 210. So a lot of the major developments there, Mill Creek Forest, which is a Toll Brothers community right in the pocket right here of where this is all going to be built. You can see where this spans across 210 and on the northern part of 210 and Greenbrier Road. So that's going to be a massive development there, along with all the other development that's going on there. Right now on that road, they're expanding it to, I believe, a 4-lane road. So 210 is now at that junction, it's 1 lane. But they're going to be changing that over to a 4-lane road, which is great. Give you a little bit more space between all your neighbors and everything. So I think that's a good development that's going to go in there. It's going to, and they're seeing what everyone else is seeing is that St. Johns County is growing like crazy. They're jumping in. They also have another property over in Town Center, the Villages at Town Center, which they're building. But yeah, that whole area over there is blowing up right off of 210. Used to be nothing but like farmland and silviculture, and now it's a whole bunch of homes that are pretty expensive. So things have definitely changed here in our area. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Do you live up there in the northwestern part of St. Johns County? You think the traffic's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think it could improve? I think it could improve, but that's gonna come with the 4-lane highway, which they're building right now. So on to the next news story. Let's go. Any questions, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so we just talked about all the growth that's going on here in St. Johns County. I hate these freaking ads. 2022 sees St. Johns County push back against growth, and that's not really a secret. That's that's something that I've covered here in the past. St. Johns County has been growing, and they've been approving developments left and right, essentially. And not surprisingly, a lot of people are not so happy about that. If you bought in this area because you were looking for a small beach town, right? And then your personal definition of a small beach town starts to change a little bit because the traffic gets a little bit worse in your area, and you want it to remain the same. So a lot of locals are, especially if they've lived here for 10, 20 years, they're not happy with all the development going on. I've lived here for a good bit. I actually think the development's a good thing. I think we need to focus our energy in development and developing the right way, so that we're not building crazy and overcrowding everything like a lot of places do. But I think the development is good overall for St. Johns County. But a lot of people don't think that. So there was a couple of major projects that were declined this past year. And, really for the county, they also had kind of, they had a lot of things approved, but for the first time in a long time, they started denying things, right? So there's one thing I do want to share from this article too, because they mainly just talk about developments they denied, which were massive, like 5,000 home developments and everything. But they also do a great recap, right, of everything that's happened this past year. Significant events in St. Johns County in 2022. County officially reopens the St. Johns Golf Club, almost a year's worth of renovation work. Voters reject the sales tax increase for deferred infrastructure projects. I like how they wrote that, for what some county officials call deferred infrastructure projects. Like, well, what is it? Like, what is the money going for? Either way, County Commissioner Paul Waldron dies in office. His replacement just got appointed, I think, this past week by Ron DeSantis. Adler Creek, which should have been more than 1,600 homes, was voted down. Flagler Health Plus, the leading hospital in St. Augustine area, announces that it will seek partnership that will likely result in it being acquired by another healthcare organization, which is also pretty major because Flagler Health Plus has been the major hospital here in the area. So I like that little recap. I figured I'd give that to you guys too. And since we're talking about hospitals, I'm just going to roll right into it. This is more going to deal with Palm Coast. So if you're looking at Palm Coast, this is going to be more up your alley. But they're having a celebration because the hospital on Palm Coast Parkway, Advent Health Palm Coast Parkway Hospital, and Robbins Morton celebrate topping out. So that means that it's almost done, and they're going to be installing the final beam of the structure, which they're hoping to open in the spring of 2023. Advent Health is the major hospital in Flagler County. So adding that other hospital there off of Palm Coast Parkway, which is pretty much in the heart of Palm Coast. It's like the main east and west road that you would use aside from Route 100, which is a little further south in Palm Coast. So I think it's really the heart of Palm Coast. It's going to be easily accessible to anyone who's looking to live in, the city of Palm Coast or the majority of Flagler County. But that is going to be open in spring of 2023. It's going to be a 153,000 square foot facility. So I think that's a good move. Palm Coast is rapidly growing. So if you are looking for a little bit more bang for your buck, you don't mind driving 30, 45 minutes to get to Flagler Beach, St. Augustine, or even maybe to Orlando if you wanted to too, then you can get a lot of house for a little bit of money compared to St. Johns County. So definitely check that out. If you have any questions about it, reach out to me directly or leave me a question in the comments below. I appreciate you guys being here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Looks like we got 8 fantastic people on the live stream today. Super excited that you guys are here. We got 9 now. Oh my gosh, let's go. So if you have any questions, fire them off below. I'm here for you guys every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So I only have 1 or 2 more news stories, so I'm going to get into it. But if you do have any questions, that's why I'm here, guys. So let's hop into the next news story here. Share my screen. Boop, 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 boop. Now, this more or less, and we talked about development a little bit, but with everything going on in the world, I just want to show you these 2 articles here. Logistics centers, permits are in review for Northwest Jacksonville, 250,000 square foot project at West 12th Street and Edgewood Avenue. And then also they're going to be expanding the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, which is a pretty significant hospital. It's one of the area's most popular hospitals to go to. And it looks like they're doing a pretty significant expansion, almost doubling the space here. Apply for a permit to build the 106 million core and shell of its 5-story patient tower. which is in the middle of Jacksonville, essentially. Project will add 250,000 square feet of tower space. So the reason I just wanted to talk about those is because right now, I feel like we're all in a pause, because we're between the holidays and the end of the year. So this week is kind of weird for everyone. I barely knew it was Wednesday to do my live stream today. And things are still moving here. It seems like a lot of development is still going on. I just covered another development in St. Johns County that got approved. Yes, some things have gotten denied. Things in Jacksonville seem to be moving along pretty swimmingly. And just on and I'm not on here every week saying like, hey, the housing market's the best thing ever. I mean, the housing market is the housing market. There's a challenge to it for sure if you're a buyer or a seller. But this market here, I feel like it is continuing to move forward regardless of what's happening nationally. I feel like every day you're seeing a panic headline about the housing market crashing, And I swear it's always like you read about it and it's like, oh yeah, well, this market here in San Diego, they're not doing too hot. And this market over here in Seattle, they're not doing too good. And it's like, well, that's one housing market out of like the whole nation. So you really need to look at local stuff versus the national stuff, because that's really going to be the driver of what's happening here in the area, right? I don't think they're making too much more beachfront property here, 20, 30 minutes to the beach, in the United States. I don't know if they've had plans on building any more land, but I don't think about it. I don't think they do. So I don't know why I said think about it. Guys, we got 10 people on here. Go ahead and fire off some questions below. I know you guys have some questions. So I know it's kind of like, maybe someone's asked this question before. It doesn't matter. If you have this question in your head, then someone else has this question and I can answer it live right here. You're not only helping yourself, helping someone else. So go ahead and help a friend to help a friend. Michael Cano heard the call and he answered. That's what I'm talking about, Michael. Let's see what you got. Okay. Do open houses bring buyers or just lookers? People curious what your house looks like. Not sure if we do one, if they are worth doing. Now, this is 100% the truth. As a realtor, open houses statistically are not going to bring a buyer for your house. The chance that, I think the statistic on this, 98% of statistics are all made up, right? So the chance that a buyer comes to an open house and buys the house that you're that you're selling, I think is 2%. So very, very low. That being said, open houses, for the most part, are for agents to get other buyers, right? So what's the chance that this buyer, the perfect buyer for your house, walks into that house and wants to buy that house? It's not very likely, but they'll probably want to buy a house very similar within the general area. So the main purpose of open houses in the business is honestly for real estate agents to get buyers and potentially leverage that home to get other listings in the neighborhood, right? So if you have a seller, and a lot of people that are doing open houses, we call them looky-loos or nosy neighbors, right? So that your neighbors want to see what the inside of your house looks like. So they will come by and check out what it is. But also, if they're thinking about selling, they're looking at your house, thinking about their house, what their house would go for. So yes, is it worth it for you to do an open house? Yes, it is, because at the same time, our market is changing, right? You want to get as much exposure as possible. When you do an open house, yeah, is it mostly for agents to get buyers? Yes, but if you do an open house, it will tell everyone that's in that little area, right? You draw a bubble around your neighborhood, right? If this buyer's looking in your neighborhood, they're drawing a bubble on Zillow, and they're like, I want to buy a house right here, right? So then whenever they go for the weekend, Zillow tells them, hey, this one's having an open house. That one's having an open house. So then it re-notifies them of a house that maybe they've already seen, right? And maybe they're not doing anything for the day. They're going to walk on through. I think as much exposure as you want as much exposure as possible. So doing an open house does benefit you, but the primary reason is to benefit the real estate agent, in my personal opinion. Whenever I do an open house, I always knock the neighbors. I let them know, like, hey, do you want to choose your neighbor? Do you want your family member to live close by? Do you want your friend to live in this neighborhood because you love it so much? And that's what I do, but it also helps me get sellers. Does it help me help my seller get another buyer? Potentially, definitely does. But it's also about getting more business, correct? So I hope that helps you, Michael. If you have any other questions very similar to that one, I really like answering those kind of things. So I appreciate that. So let's see here. Have you heard of any plans of widening 16 west of 95? So I live right off of State Road 16. I live on the east side of 95 by the outlet mall and the townhomes there. So I'm pretty well aware of the traffic situation that's going on there. Now, immediately west of 95 is the outlets, right? I live by the indoor portion of the outlet mall, and that's non-existent anymore. And the west side starts the outlet, and then it starts more or less, so it's commercial spaces, and then there is more or less starting to go into residential, but a lot of silviculture as well. 16 will take you out to Silverleaf. It'll take you out to State Road 13. It'll take you out to Trailmark, Shearwater. You can take 16 pretty much anywhere. I have not heard of anything about them widening the streets the roads on State Road 16 at that location. It's got to be in the works. It really does, because if you're familiar, I think we're talking about the same place here, Debbie. But it goes from 2 lanes into 1 lane right when you pass the outlet mall there, and then you go into like Windward Ranches on your left, and then there's another development on your right, and then another development, Marabella, all that. So it's a one-way road pretty much up until you get to World Golf Parkway. And then it splits open, and then it goes back down again. So I imagine that whole stretch of 16 within the next couple of years is probably going to be widened just because of the amount of communities that they're putting on that side of 95. So on the east side, I don't think it needs really any adjustment. Maybe they could have planned to put the Chick-fil-A and the Wawa a little bit further away from each other, but they didn't do it. So unfortunately, we're stuck with the traffic there. But I hope that answered your question a little bit. If I do hear anything about that, though, you'll probably find it on here because I live right here. So if any development happens out there, I'm going to know about it more than likely. So Debbie, I appreciate your question. Michael, you're the man. I appreciate your question. You guys are awesome. I'm here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. for you guys. So go ahead. If you have any questions, let them fire off. They could be as specific, such as a road here in town, or it could be a little bit more broad about like doing open houses for your house. Michael, let me ask you a question. Are you selling here in the area? Because if you are, let me know. We can have a conversation. Now, guys, that's really about it for today. Unless you guys have some more questions, I'm pretty much going to sign off. Let's see here. What time we got? We got 33. Okay, so I've been on here about 25, 30 minutes. That's fine. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to sign off. But I do want to kind of give you a pulse on what I'm seeing here in the market. Seems that there are agents, there are people, and of course the media is just saying like, hey, this market here, or the housing market, it seems like that all the signs that the media is putting out is like they want it to be very, very negative, right? And this whole year, the past 2 years, the media has been able to make a whole bunch of money pretty much selling you fear of what's going on in the world, right? We had it first with COVID, and not saying that it wasn't necessary at a point in time, but every time you turn on the TV, it's just all day long, everything that's going on that's negative, negative, negative. And that's now, I think the housing market is kind of taking that reins, for how can we can make it look as bad as possible. I really do urge you, if you're not looking in St. Augustine, if just make sure you find out the local information from someone that knows what's going on in the area, that is also not just dabbling in real estate, and I know that's a really tough thing. It's a tough conversation. You have a friend who just got their license, right? And you want to help them out, or maybe a family member. If they don't know what's going on here in the market, they're not going to be able to accurately help you out, and also aside from that, it's just a conflict of interest a lot of the times because, you're trying to get a sale, you're trying to help out a family member. But if you're not knowing what you're doing in the market, that's more or less the more important thing. So I definitely recommend just getting to know the local market as best you can. One resource for our area here, which is relatively new, it's by Alex Stewart. He is a mortgage lender at Bank of England, but you can follow him on Instagram. I'm going to have an interview with him in about a month here. He looks at everything. We're talking about employment. We're talking about the job growth in the area, macro and microeconomics of Jacksonville, St. Augustine. He's looking at that information, but he's doing it not like he doesn't have his Bank of England hat on. He has his here, this is just the data that I think you need to have. You don't have to use Bank of England. Just here's the data, right? Here's what it is. And then you can make an educated decision. So you can find that information on Instagram and you can sign up for his newsletter, and it's at the Market Distillery. Okay, the Market Distillery, all one word. And you can find that on Instagram. It's a lot of good, non-biased information so that you can make an educated decision. And that's what I'm here for, guys. I want to provide information so you can make a decision. I'm not putting a gun to anyone's head to make them buy or sell a house. I'm here to help. So let's see here. Oh, we got some regulars here. Wishing you a happy and safe New Year. Love nature. Hope the same to you. Hope you have a great New Year's Eve. Maybe have a drink or two, celebrate the ball dropping, and then you got a good 2023 planned. I know I do. I've got a lot of stuff going on in 2023. Super excited for it. Super excited to get you guys. I was actually supposed to interview Sheriff Hardwick tomorrow, and they had to reschedule on us. So now we're going next week, but be on the lookout for that one. That's going to come out here in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to be talking about Sheriff Hardwick, about what's going on here in St. Johns County, because I know a lot of people are concerned with like crime and the growth of population and what that means, right? So I'm going straight to the source. I'm getting it. Debbie, Happy New Year to you and your family. Debbie, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Happy New Year to you. My brother-in-law is actually calling me because, funny enough, I know I just talked about don't use your sibling, but they're actually looking to buy a house in Palatka. Now, let me talk about that for a second. I think Palatka is so freaking cool. Like, it's just a small little town right on the St. Johns River. It's got like a redeveloping downtown. So it's got like a main street downtown. It's got Florida's oldest diner in Palatka. And it sits on, so much of it is waterfront. And if you're looking at the difference between St. Johns County and you're like, the prices here for waterfront property, access to the river, for property in general, it's just too expensive, but I still kind of want to be within an hour of the beach. But maybe you're not about the hustle and bustle of St. Johns County or Jacksonville. Putnam County, Palatka may be your answer. I just looked at a beautiful home. I'm going to pull it up here because this home, it's one of those homes that you go into and you really you're just automatically like, you need to buy this house. And now this is my sister and my brother-in-law looking, right? And we walked into this house and I was like, you guys need to put an offer on this house right now. So let me share my screen real quick. This is going for $450,000 in Palatka. Sits on the water, has 100 feet of waterfront on the St. Johns River, overlooking St. Johns County. And the one thing also that is important to know is that the First Coast Expressway will soon be going across St. Johns River over into St. Johns County, connecting I-10, which is far north in Clay County, I-10 to 95 south of Jacksonville through St. Johns County. So it's going to that whole, it's in the path of development is my point. And I really think it's a great little city that's away from the hustle and bustle, but you can go downtown Palatka, kind of get that little tiny small town vibe. But I'll share my screen so you guys can check it out. $450,000 on the water. So 114 Sheffy Road in Palatka. Let's take a look at this beauty here. The only thing that was really a drawback for them was, because obviously these windows are amazing, they were like, well, where do you put your TV? Because if you can see the floor plan here, this is the kitchen, this is the main entry room here. Like, well, where do you put your TV? These guys actually have a TV in here that pops out of it. It's really cool. But great little home. It's about 1,500 square feet. My mistake. 1,500 square feet, block home, metal roof, sits on 0.93 acres, right? So it's 100 feet wide. That means it's about 400 feet long. So, and I'll show you. So look at this here, and they have a little garden over here. The neighbors have a swing set, which you can see right here. They also have a zip line that runs right down to the water. So I would definitely try and make friends with those neighbors. Beautiful tree in the back with the Spanish moss on it. Oh, I love it. Look at that shot. They got a little wooden sailboat there, 100-foot dock, probably no boat lift or anything, but you can moor a boat right there. No problem. Plenty of space, but yeah, super cute in the inside. Look at this kitchen, the cabinets, everything, butcher block countertops, farm sink. Love to see it. But the rest of the home, it's kind of just a basic house, I would say. Cute, got laundry room, everything. But let's see here at the property. Yeah. 2 sheds right on the St. Johns River. Let's see if you can see how it kind of goes back there. Yeah, it's not even showing you really a good picture of it, because right here, as it shows the aerial, that's only half of the property. And it's covered from the road, so all this is covered with trees, so you can't even see it from the road, and the dirt road swoops in. I freaking love it. I think it's a great house. We got an offer on it, so I hope they win it. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have an update for you next week if they won it or not. But I think it's a great house. I hope they get it, because it would be so cute to see their family grow up there. And also, they were talking about moving to Tennessee, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, don't do that. That's an awful idea. But guys, enough of me. I'm rambling here. So hope you guys gained a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of insight to what's going on here in St. Augustine. We're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m., 8-ish. I was a little late today. Going over the market stats, the local news that you need to know about if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing here in our local area. And at the end, we're going to do a Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, if you're watching live, if you're rewatching this, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, because I'm here for you every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Guys, hope you have a happy new year. Hope you had a happy holiday so far. I'm going to go take the rest of the night off, and hope you guys have a good one.